instead of spending $12 billion a month to rebuild Iraq. I think it's time we invested in our roads and schools and bridges and started to rebuild America. Instead of handing out giveaways to corporations that don't need them and didn't even ask for them, it's time we start giving a hand up to families that are trying to pay their medical bills and send their children to college.
Now with Senator Barack Obama this afternoon kicking off his Change That Works for You economy tour in the battleground state of North Carolina. Now that the discussion has turned from the war and national security to the price of gas and the anemic U.S. economy, what are the policy battle lines? Bernard Whitman is a Democratic strategist and Jack Berkman is a Republican strategist. Bernard, Barack Obama today proposed a windfall tax on oil company profits. How would that help lower gas prices?
Well, look, I think we have to compare and contrast Barack Obama with John McCain, and there's a huge difference here. John McCain would like to...
Bernard, just to start, you acknowledge that it would not lower gas prices, right?
Look, we need to fund a number of domestic and foreign programs, including the war in Iraq, economic stimulus, tax breaks for the middle class. A windfall profits tax on the oil companies is a fair way to begin taking some of that money and pay for some programs that are fundamentally needed in America. I don't really believe at all it's designed to lower gas prices. We need to look for alternative sources of energy to do that, but the windfall profits tax is something that we're going to need to fund needed domestic programs.
Jack Berkman, do Republicans acknowledge that it's tricky for John McCain to talk about fiscal responsibility when we're spending so much for the war in Iraq and kicking the cost down the road?
Oh, sure, David. You know, the guns versus butter is an old argument, but if we had opted for nothing but butter over the years, America wouldn't be leading the world. It's always easy to say, let's put the money into schools and bridges and forget the world, forget conflict, but America wouldn't be America. This country would have never rose. Look, what I say to people, said this 100 times this year, forget the spin, forget what the Republicans say, forget what I say, forget what John McCain says. Do nothing more than take a look at Barack Obama's website. On it, you will find not a single economic proposal that does not involve an immediate welfare giveaway to someone. He's talking about, and people can support this if they like, but he's talking about creating a welfare state that would make FDR and Lyndon Johnson look anemic.
What's wrong with ending, as Barack Obama would suggest, the welfare state right now that exists for so many corporations?
Well, frankly, some of that, look, as a conservative, I support some of that. I don't disagree with all of that. But what you will see is Obama transitioning now to a general election candidate, David. He's going to stop talking about tax increases. He's going to stop talking about all of that, and he will focus more on general election themes. Everybody knows you don't do 31 new tax increases in the middle of a recession. And the other thing is Obama should be more honest with people. You can't just raise taxes on the top 5%. Even if you have that as an objective, and you and I know this well from looking at the Hill, and Bernard knows this well, to get something through Congress, you hit the top 40, 50, 60%. That's just the way the American system is. So I would encourage Obama not to lie to people and not to continue this very dishonest campaign.
Bernie, is he dishonest?
Look, I couldn't disagree more. We have to contrast Barack Obama with John McCain. John McCain would like nothing more than to continue the failed Bush economic policies, which basically come in three varieties. Let me go through them. Number one is to bury your head in the sand and hope the problem goes away. Number two is help your rich friends. And number three, my favorite, is blame the victim.
But let me ask you this, Bernard. Can I ask, David, I don't want to interject you, but let me just throw something out there. Is Bernard suggesting then that the housing bubble about which Obama and Hillary talk endlessly, are you suggesting that that's George Bush's fault?
Bernie?
I'm suggesting that George Bush's has been MIA
yes or no?
with respect to the economy in general and with respect to this housing crisis. And John McCain's strategy for an awfully long time was to blame the victim. He's reluctantly agreed to give some assistance here, but Barack Obama just announced what I think is a critically important component of economic stimulus, and that is a foreclosure protection fund that would help these people not lose their homes. And I think, and most Americans agree, that if we can bail out Wall Street, and I think the Bear Stearns bailout made a lot of sense, we can certainly bail out Main Street.
Bernard Whitman is a Democratic strategist. Jack Berkman is a Republican strategist. They are both coming back later in the show. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.